meeting. We'll call the meeting to order 5:01 PM and do a quick set of rounds. Do you want to kick us off, Joe?
Joe Eichstead, City Engineer.
Paul Vollert, Public Works Superintendent.
Ryan Austin, committee member.
Madeline Palmquist, Chair.
Dennis Pollock, 6th Ward Alderman. I'm filling in for Jeff Penscover at this meeting.
Thank you. Item 2 is to review the engineering and street monthly activity report. Paul?
Okay, thank you. The report is attached. Our refuse and recycling continue to be relatively consistent from year to year. 500 tons of garbage and 110 tons of recycling. Our construction projects, we finished the month of July with doing the backfilling of the curb and the restoration from 3rd Street to Apricot. And then that section then got the binder layer put on it and then was completely serviced the week of July 25th. And we opened it to traffic then July 28th. So that project is complete except for cutting the sanitary and the storm manholes here later this fall. The 14th Avenue project then, we continue to install the underground utilities with the section from High Street to the north to Fremont. The underground and the restoration is completed, and all that's left to do is to pave that section. That'll be completed once the section from West Grand Avenue to High Street is ready to be paved. The entire underground area in that section from West Grand Avenue to High Street is completed. The quantities of material installed are attached. We just this week now have started on the first block of McKinley Street heading to the east from 14th Avenue. For the month of July, our street maintenance has been pretty much preparation in completing all the maintenance activities that are required to be completed prior to our chip sealing, which our chip sealing is going to take place, weather permitting, starting Monday, August 11th, Tuesday and Wednesday. The area that's going to be chip sealed is out in the industrial park. Pretty much everything west of Grand Avenue, both north and south of, west of 17th Avenue, north and south of West Grand Avenue. And then also out in the condo subdivision out off of Highway 73. So with that, we went through and did our preparation with filling in the cross cracks, fixing any catch basins or manholes that needed to be fixed in those areas, and getting all the patching and everything like that taken care of so that it's just a matter of going in and doing our chip seal. Then painting wise, for the half of the month of July, the work group had been coming in at night to paint all the crosswalks on the state highway system. We did those in the night hour, not dealing with as much traffic. And then we have painted probably close to 75% of our double yellow throughout the city. And for the most part, all of our crosswalks should be completed here within the daytime here around the school area prior to school starting, concentrating this last week on the Catholic schools because they start school here in 2 weeks. Our shop continues to maintain our fleet. Previously spoke at the meeting that we took delivery of a garbage truck. We had some issues with getting it lettered and stickered, so that actually just went into service. I believe it was last week. And then kind of putting some ghost projects back together. We had a floor sweeper that we had to find parts for, a parks leaf sweeper also that we had some hard times finding parts for. And then in their spare time, our staff, the shop was working on cleaning up the equipment that was inside our Butler building when it started fire, just so that our staff didn't have to deal with stuff that had smoke and ash and stuff like that on it. So with that, the remainder of our report is attached, and that's all I got.
Any comments?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I just have one question, it's not a biggie, but on that replacing the electric motors on that floor cleaner, did something happen to the motors that we burn up, or what happened?
No, the floor sweeper, I'm gonna be guessing, I think it's at least 12 or 13 years old. It's a scrubber sweeper, so the motors, the drive motors were just worn, but there was another motor that was damaged because somebody may have gotten on it that maybe wasn't familiar with it and was trying to scrub the floor prior to some material being picked up first. So we were asking a little bit of too much of the machine, so it burnt up the motor that way.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Moving on to our streets department. Sorry, engineering,
Thank you.
every time.
So for the month of July, our permit license numbers, diggers hotline locates, degradation fees are all identified in the report. For our design projects that are ongoing, definitely made progress to varying degrees on all of them that we have listed there. Probably most notably, latest efforts on East Jackson Street, as well as the Pepper Avenue Water Main Project, which, based on today's percentages, would probably be closer to 90% complete for design. In addition, the Mead pickleball courts, the finished coating is installed, and so those courts are complete. There may still be some final details before they're open to the public, but for all intents and purposes, for the contract portion of the work that the engineering department's engaged with, that project is complete. For preliminary surveys, we've picked up some supplemental survey on Second Street as part of the East Jackson Street project for 2026, and then started and nearly completed. As of today, we're probably at 80% complete for the 16th Street South preliminary survey, also for a 2026 construction. Additionally, the Otter House exhibit is now under construction. I believe the contractor started work there approximately 2 weeks ago. So at the time of compiling this report, the footing and foundation walls were nearly complete. And then we worked with the wastewater department on their Dewey Lift Station Master Control Center replacement project and getting that project out for bid, which bids were opened this week, August 5th. And with that, that's a summary of our monthly report.
Thank you, Joe. Any questions on engineering? Comments? Right. All right. Item 3, review the 2025 construction project status report.
So the latest report is provided. A couple noteworthy items. It's through July 20th for the bulk of the numbers that are presented there. Additionally, though, there is a note for pit materials, stock materials, that there's a note at the bottom that the pit materials at least were current through June 30th. I think that's, everything's been updated since that this report has been run, but there is some data lacking, not represented in this report. I guess just to provide just a basic review of, some of the comments that were addressed last month regarding the street construction labor dollars. We did spend some time digging through that, both Paul and I, over the last month. We looked at a variety of different things, every time kind of drilling down to try to ascertain where some of the variables might be that are contributing to some of the, I guess, soon-to-be deficit in that cost center. For instance, we looked at labor rates, changes during construction, potentially overtime costs. We looked at other accounts, sanitary sewer, storm sewer, water main. We looked at engineering labor versus street labor, looked at how we're estimating for these costs at budget time, and evaluating current unit costs that we're utilizing in those estimates. So we looked at a variety of different things. Probably the single biggest thing that's jumping out to us is probably being the largest variable, although we're still having still can't quite quantify it exactly how much of a variable it is just on the charge out of the street, charge out to the street cost center. Basically meaning that we've seen this year after year, experience it oftentimes. I do it myself. I charge to the cost system that oftentimes the street cost account gets the biggest hit as far as labor dollars, primarily because it turns out to kind of be the default cost when it's not specific to a utility or very specific to pipe going in the ground. Oftentimes staff resort to, well, without having a clear distinction, we'll charge it off to streets. At least from the engineering side of things, if we're working on project notices, pre-construction meetings with property owners, temporary easements, kind of general overhead project stuff, oftentimes those costs get charged to the street cost account. It is something that we've had various conversations about from time to time, and it's been a number of years since we made changes to the cost account system, but nevertheless, it is something that's an ongoing discussion, and anecdotal evidence of that is looking through sanitary sewer, storm sewer, and water main budget levels and what we've charged for costs there. And they're all very healthy. They all have surpluses in them, more than what we would expect to have, at the almost through July, halfway through the construction season. So it's anecdotal evidence that at least that, an indicator that the charge out to those accounts isn't appropriate. But with that, the kind of summary of the report, so, certainly if there's questions or concerns, we can discuss those further.
Questions?
Well, I appreciate the explanation, Joe, and I appreciate the attention, and, it sounds like you guys are trying to maybe possibly work through a resolution here. Obviously, these different accounts, ideally, we'd like them to be hitting accurately. That's the point of it, to be able to track it and understand it, and use that data to do better, or potentially do more, or vice versa. So I appreciate the explanation once again, and hopefully we can get to a place where these numbers are and charges are put where they're supposed to be. Thank you.
I agree. I think this is a great addition to our reports and helps with our budgeting process overall. We see on our monthly engineering and street reports what you guys are up to, and this helps me connect what you're doing and how much it costs and where we're at in the budget, especially considering what we have as a total estimated cost now, or total cost charge, and then what we budgeted for. Considering we're in August, it looks like even with the potential surplus in the labor piece, that we are good on the overall streets projects. Got anything, Dennis? Okay. Moving on to item 4, then, to review and consider approval of the 2026-2030 capital improvement plan.
So I did distribute the latest draft of the capital improvement plan for 2026 to 2030. And it mimics the same format that the committee would have seen last year. It's currently posted, just with the addition of calendar year 2030. We did incorporate a few changes throughout, as mentioned last month, primarily just shifting a couple projects to other construction years. But otherwise, just on an overarching basis, the city has roughly 150 miles of roadway inside its corporate limits that we estimate, we have some assumptions built into it, but based on the track record, those streets last roughly about 50 years, give or take. Some are a little shorter, some last longer based on conditions and traffic and such. So that gives us a rough idea of about 3 miles of street that we should be looking to resurface in some form or fashion, either through reconstruction or milling and resurfacing that way, or overlaying that we should be looking or attempting to get to on an annual basis. And I don't have those metrics identified for each of these years, but that is something that we have looked at in the past. And with the pavement replacement program that's added into the end of the capital improvement plan, there's a spreadsheet in there that has all of the projects identified for mill and overlay, or mill and overlay. So pavement replacement projects that we are getting closer to that 3 miles per year. But obviously, everything comes at a cost, and so trying to create consistency from one year to the next with our budgets as well.
Any questions and comments on the capital improvement plan?
Yes, one for me. 2026, we have the East Jackson Street project. The construction totals there, is that including grants that you would intend or we're going to receive or have applied to receive, or any state aid there?
Those costs do not appear to be reflective of both current costs and funding sources. So we do have a construction estimate date of 2024, and I know so that is an edit we should make here, is at least for 2026, we've got, with budget efforts over the last couple weeks, and we do have up-to-date costs now for these projects. And so we will, prior to council, we will get these updated.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions, concerns? Then I will make a motion to approve the 2026 to 2030 capital improvement plan with the updated numbers that Joe will provide before council.
I'll second that.
Motion by me, second by Ryan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it, 3-0. Item 5 is to discuss the creation and development of a city-wide master sidewalk plan. Do you want me to introduce that one? I wrote the referral. So I wrote this referral because every time we talk about removing a portion of sidewalk, we have the same similar questions, in that is this sidewalk going to be connected to our existing sidewalks? Do we have any plan for it? We talk about informing the homeowners that live along that piece of the sidewalk. And I think it would be helpful to have a plan similar to the way we update our streets with where our sidewalks are, what our plan is for improving them, and if there are any portions of sidewalk that we are considering removing, having those noted as well. And then Joe and engineering team put together a conceptual summary. So pass to Joe.
So as Ms. Palmquist mentioned, the master sidewalk plan, conceptual summary, these are just ideas, things that kind of document on paper to provide some context of, you know, kind of what sort of problems or concerns that we're currently facing or have run into, and then objectives and goals on how we could accomplish fixing those problems, and then identifying a methodology and a timeline that would, you know, aid in having something moving forward that would be beneficial. So I incorporated that into a single front and backside document here. And I can walk through those just a little bit. Again, these are just ideas, so to maybe help with the discussion on it. But you know, with some of the problems, you know, just general lack of planning, you know, sidewalk can be very expensive to install. You know, 5-foot sidewalk on each side of the roadway. It's essentially a 10-foot concrete lane on every stretch of roadway that we install it. It does definitely serve a purpose and has, you know, can be very productive to have and beneficial to have. However, you know, obviously, if it's not, if there isn't a benefit in certain areas of the city or less of a benefit, obviously the cost to install it is less effective in those areas. So just to give you a rough idea of kind of the quantity of sidewalk that the city has, roughly 100 miles of sidewalk within the corporate limits, and the reconstruction for any of the brand new sidewalk we put in or as part of our reconstruction projects, it's about $200,000 for a mile of new sidewalk. That gets us a half mile of sidewalk, you know, on both sides of the street. If I guess outside of the new construction, obviously the other piece of it is the maintenance, the ongoing maintenance costs of panels heaving and settling and cracking and whatnot. The current cost that we have for a quarter mile of removal and replacement sidewalk, it's much more expensive. It's about 4 times as expensive as the new sidewalk. It is about $200,000 for a quarter mile of sidewalk removal and replacement. So with that, you know, it's definitely just wanted to quantify some of the costs that, you know, we're dealing with, and as projects kind of come and go, there's the current ordinances that we're, you know, we get to a new project and then the question arises, do we put sidewalk here or do we remove the sidewalk? And so creating some sort of overall master sidewalk plan, perhaps similar to the official street map, would help to kind of put that planning effort in up front. It would look at not only the type of street, you know, is it a collector street or a local street, but it would also look at, you know, areas that, land use areas that people are potentially using that corridor for. You know, is it between a school and maybe a commercial district or maybe a park? Those sorts of things that just natural areas where people would naturally, you know, want to travel to and from various land uses. So it would account for those things. So as our ordinance sits today, a local street may not warrant sidewalk just based on the class of the street and lack of being a school route or those sorts of things, but it may actually connect the neighborhood to and being utilized for pedestrian traffic that would actually benefit from having a sidewalk. And so, you know, the idea of putting the effort into a master sidewalk plan would hopefully provide all of those pieces and nuances. Likewise, it might identify areas that currently have sidewalk that perhaps aren't really receiving too much benefit from it. And maybe at the right time, that sidewalk could be removed. Additionally, you know, ordinances and policies could be modified, developed to substantiate and incorporate the master sidewalk plan. The official street map has a public hearing process attached to it, so changes to that master sidewalk plan could potentially be accomplished through a public hearing process. It's a bit more formal, but it also ensures that the public's being heard and their input is taken into consideration. It will also help to streamline capital planning and street reconstruction projects and make the best use of available dollars. So some of the criteria on how we determine, you know, where sidewalks should go or not go, you know, that criteria would be critical to develop as part of this process, as well as the map document, coupled with the ordinances and any policy revisions that would go along with it. As far as a timeline, nothing's really been identified yet, but there's some, I guess, milestones identified in the document here.
Questions from the committee?
Thank you. One question, if a property owner would by any chance request a sidewalk to put in front of their home, what cost would that be to the property owner, or would you even consider doing it?
Well, I think, sir, is this under today's ordinances or maybe under the potential future changes? I mean, I think in both cases, the connectivity of that sidewalk that's being requested is a major part of, you know, that does it accomplish what the city intends for? Is it connecting to sidewalk, and maybe it's just one property that doesn't have the sidewalk, and then it completes the network connection? I think that there's definitely merit likely there to do that or approve that or have that done. If it's in an area that doesn't have sidewalk and they want sidewalk installed, well, then it becomes this, you know, a city's potential future burden to maintain that sidewalk that doesn't connect to anything. So I think, you know, all of the variables at play, it would have to be looked at on an individual basis.
Wouldn't that request, though, come to this committee to determine
Yes.
one way or the other?
Yep.
Okay.
I don't see any information on here related to sidewalk on one side of the street or both sides. Is that, I mean, I know we have those scenarios throughout the city. What is the criteria for putting sidewalk on both sides of the street compared to areas where it's on one side?
So currently, the city's typical cross-sections for various types of roadways, they, you know, where sidewalks warranted in general, they show sidewalk on both sides of the street. Now, that may not always be possible. You know, perhaps there's elevation changes on one side of the street, or, you know, maybe encroachments of buildings that have been allowed to remain there that prohibit the installation of sidewalk on one side of the street. But I think it's generally a policy sort of decision that the committee could make on, you know, when it's appropriate or under what conditions for just one side. It can also be that, well, you know, costs for the installation of sidewalk could also be a factor in that. You know, that if we're looking at, say on Pepper Avenue, there's no sidewalk for certain stretches. Well, we could get sidewalk in on one side, and we could go twice the distance, and we'd have it on the street. It's a limitation of dollars potentially that could factor into that criteria.
Yeah, thank you again. Years ago, I was on a committee like this, and we had a request to put, well, it was because of a school situation on Grove Avenue between 8th Street and Lincoln. And we were looking at either side of the street, north or south. And property owners said it was a great idea, but I think it goes on the other side of the street. And our final decision was we put it in on both sides rather than just one, so sidewalks are still there.
Sure. I know one of the big pieces of that conversation was, who's paying for it. That was one factor. Currently, the city's paying for it, so through all of the tax levy. So it's not a burden on any individual property owner to such an extent. But then secondly, it was on the snow clearing during the winter, the snow removal piece of it. So if, in one sense, you can solve some of that issue, well, we're not going to pick a side, we'll just put it on both sides. But historically, those were the two big factors in sidewalks being contentious.
Is this something that we need an official motion on if we want to pursue, or does this committee feel like we need to see this laid out, or are we not interested? After seeing the problem, the objectives, methodology, the timeline, our ordinance. Any strong feelings one way or another?
I think what we have here that we're looking at is pretty thorough. Obviously, as these situations arise, like we just discussed, there can be some case-by-case scenarios, but, from what I understand, if it's, sidewalk on one side or two sides of the street, it's widely decided on, each project. So I guess one additional question, when it comes to installing new sidewalk, is that special assessed yet, Joel?
Brand new?
Brand new.
So it's, I don't think our policies are detailed on it, and I can't think of a situation exactly. Perhaps I know we're going to have a couple projects where we're removing sidewalk, and we've probably, in the last couple of years, had some projects where we've filled in a couple gaps. But I guess what exactly constitutes new sidewalk? Is it just sidewalk where it has never been before?
Never been.
Or is it, on a property basis or on a block basis? So like I said, there's probably been instances where we've filled in sidewalk as part of a reconstruction project that didn't address how we should it be special assessed or not. I think it just got accomplished with the construction. But it's probably one of those areas that we should revisit those policies and clarify.
Well, I think with the conversation we've had tonight, I think there's still some tweaking that could be done to this master plan. I think now that we've started the discussion, and maybe another month to stew on it, think about anything else, and anything else that Joe would want to potentially address with it. I don't think that would be the worst thing in the world. So to me, if we can have this back on the agenda for next month, and address it at that point and go from there.
All right, no official action. We will leave this until, or bring this back next month. Item 6 is to review and consider adding no parking restrictions on 24th Street South, 1,055 feet and 1,165 feet north of County Trunk Highway W. This was my initial referral. I received a phone call from Mitchell Blaine, who is here this evening, regarding some difficulty with parking on the end of the road, blocking the entrance to the Hilltop Grand Village, which is the only entrance to the Hilltop Grand Village. And for us to consider creating a no parking before that entrance to help with access for visiting family members, emergency vehicles, and just overall navigating of that end street. I did run this past Joe. Joe, did you have anything to add?
No, nothing in particular, other than, the footages that we laid out basically get us around the north entrance of the Home Depot parking lot. And, if vehicles are parking there obstructing visibility and such, if they're for deliveries for Home Depot, I don't see why they need to be parking on the street there for that activity. So I don't really have any issues with creating no parking there if the committee wish to do so.
Any initial questions or comments? Okay. Joe, do you have anything additional to add? No? I would just only add that I think a lot of people. If you want to, yep, please. And there's a green light in the microphone. If you just want to state your name, that'd be great.
Oh, thank you. Do I need to do anything?
Just state name and who you are.
Mitchell Bain. I'm
Thank
the
you.
Executive Director for Hilltop Grand Village Assisted Living. So obviously I contacted Madeline. We've been there for roughly 8 years. And in the 8 years, we get many, many vehicles, a lot of semis for Home Depot. 24th Street, to a lot of people, I think they think it ends at the end of Home Depot. And it's part of Home Depot, so we get a lot of people that park there, semis that park there. They unload their trucks, they sweep them out, we clean it up. A lot of garbage dumping at the end. We get people that come to Home Depot and are looking for their pet to have a spot for it to go to the bathroom. And so we get a lot of weird vehicles, but the big one is we've had semi-trucks parked there, and we've had internal discussions going, what if we had to call for a fire truck? That would be blocking our driveway. It is the only driveway into our facility, so there's a level of concern. And I think the final one was when I talked to Madeline, we had a dilapidated camper parked at the end of the road that someone was living in, and because there wasn't any no parking signs, city ordinance allows parking for at least 48 hours. Law enforcement couldn't tell us who was living in the camper. We didn't know if they were friendly or not friendly, and again, somebody thinks 24th Street is kind of this private dead-end spot, but it's our front as we come in. So it took a week for that dilapidated camper with whoever is living in it to finally have it removed. So, it would be wonderful for us, for the 100 feet of road that we had put in when we built, if we could have no parking there. It would just, I think it would remedy a lot of issues that we've had in our time there. So
Did you say they were physically obstructing the driveway entrance?
the camper was not.
Okay,
The camper was just slightly off of the way, but the person living there did end up calling the police on us because we were trying to figure out who was living in the camper at the end of the street. So
have any of the semi-trailers or vehicles
the
actually
semi-trailers actually park, and they do obstruct the drive.
Okay. The other option would be, or in addition to installing a private entrance, do not block sign at the driveway, just to provide some extra visibility and enforcement of that there's a driveway here and it actually goes somewhere.
I think anything would be greatly appreciated on our end, so that's all I have.
Questions, concerns, comments?
I'm happy to make this motion. So, what we have here in the packet, it's 132 feet on the north end of 24th Street. So I take it 24th Street technically ends prior to this driveway entrance?
It goes slightly past it.
It does.
Yep.
So, do we need to encompass additional area to the south then?
So I guess on this map here, that's the area that's identified in the
Okay.
footages.
Okay. So that's the 132 feet?
Yep.
No parking on both sides. Do we need to throw the addition of the sign in this motion?
Do we provide those signs, Paul?
Or is that, yeah,
On that end of things with the private drive, it may be more appropriate to have them install it at the end of their driveway outside of the right-of-way.
Okay.
But it may take care of the situation being a no parking zone in itself.
right. All right, so I'll make a motion for no parking on the 132 feet on the north side of 24th Street at all times.
I'll second the motion.
Yeah, motion by Austin, second by Pollock. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it 3-0. Item 7, review the referral list. I don't have anything to add or remove. Anyone else? Good. All right. Item 8 is set next meeting date, which would fall on Thursday, September 4th. Does not look like council chambers is being used that day. Any objections with September 4th? All right, Thursday, September 4th at 5 p.m. Item 9, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting closes at 5:43 p.m. Thank you.